Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have suffered abandonment and abuse and still come out broken but beautiful? Well, my name is Dr. Viola Pierce. I am the owner and CEO of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to teach nurses to leverage the knowledge that they already know working from their computers anywhere around the world, making money and owning their own time. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you the fuel to crush your goals and to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders that have overcome so that you know that the possibilities are endless. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment if you were ever told that you would not succeed. And remember to click the calendar link above if you want to create another stream of income and enroll in our 6-month course, VP Nursing Business Academy. So, our special guest today is Tasha Jones. So, Tasha is an ordained evangelist, servant, and mother of her beautiful daughter, Jaden. She is the founder and CEO of Broken Beautiful LLC and Broken Beautiful Ministries, where she is an ICF, you have to tell us what that is, accredited life coach. I'm gonna ask my own question. Christian mentor. She is mentor. She is a visionary for of Shift Sisters Healing in Christ Together Life Group, where she teaches and demonstrates to women their value according to God's holy word. So welcome, Tasha. Love to
Good
have
morning. Good morning, Dr. V. Thank you for inviting me.
So now, at the beginning of your life, it was a little bit rocky. So you said that you were abandoned. Give us a little insight as to what that looked like for you.
Yeah, abandonment for me started very early when my mom and my dad divorced. It was as if when they divorced, the children no longer existed to my dad. So he just kind of ended the marriage and walked away from the family altogether for some time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And so
So.
have you rekindled your relationship with him at all?
No, we haven't. The last time I saw my dad, to be quite honest, was in 2010 when my papa, his father, passed away. So that was the last time that I've seen him. It's by
Wow.
his choice. There's no hard feelings. I mean, it's by his choice. We've reached out, but
He just decided that he just didn't want
yeah,
to. Now,
it's his.
how many children did your parents have?
My with my mom and dad's marriage, it's just the two of us, myself and my sister. I'm the eldest of all of the kids, and then my brother came from a relationship afterwards.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's
Gotcha.
three
Gotcha.
of us total.
Now, you were then abused. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
My mom was my first abuser. My mom and my dad both. Um, Hindsight shows you a lot when you're a child, you don't understand, but once you grow and come to understand first and foremost that you were conceived in brokenness, you were conceived out of two broken people who were not healthy, not only spiritually but mentally. They were not healthy people, they were not in good places, and both of them struggled with mental health issues. And so being birthed out of that, and then my mom um, suffering abuse from her childhood. And so she just passed to me, unfortunately, what she knew. She couldn't give me anything other than what she had. She didn't have the skills nor the tools to not give me those things. And so, yeah, her being my first abuser, and then sexually molested in from a relationship that she was in by a boyfriend. So abuse started with me very early, very
So,
early.
so did you let her know about this abuse?
Um, the sexual molestation,
Uh-huh.
I in so many ways, I believe my mom knew.
Okay.
I think that you know your children, and when you allow in my situation, a man to give us baths, and we would scream, especially me. I would scream to the top of my lungs, and my mom would actually beat me in the tub and make me hush and let him just bathe us and wash our hair. And so I was tormented by this man. I don't think that she thought that it went as far as it did, but I don't think that for a moment that she was oblivious to it either. We've talked about it since, and she said, I always knew that there was something, I just couldn't pinpoint. And when you're in an unhealthy place, but your validation comes from this person and you need that person to feel good about yourself and feel healthy, then oftentimes broken people um, kind of just give in, if you will, or accept things that normally would not be acceptable, tolerated at all had she been healthy.
You know what? I'm so glad that you have broken that generational curse, right?
Yeah,
Because it is a generational curse,
it
obviously. Because
is.
if she was abused, then breaking that generational curse and really, really having that forethought to be able to do that. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times, I don't care what it is, whether it is abuse, whether it's lack of, money, whatever it is. Of course, abuse is
Hmm.
one of those things that, of course, affects us for the rest of our lives. But when you get to that place where you break it, not only did you break it, but then you are able to teach other women
Yeah.
because, out of your broken place is where your purpose is typically,
Yeah.
right? And what a lot of people don't understand is that if you just go back and you revisit that, live in that vulnerability, and then come out of that, then it's literally a game changer, a
It
game
is.
changer, a game changer.
It
Now,
is.
now you were not only abused as a child, but as an adult as well,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely. I married my abuser. And, it started out as cute. Actually, James was my first, I consider for myself, sorry that I mentioned his name, but I mean, he is my ex. He was, he was like my first boyfriend, the first person that I had that was all mine. Out of my brokenness, I made some really disgusting decisions, not knowing who I was and accepting any and everything that was handed to me, including labels. So, in that relationship, what I thought was jealousy and controlling found it to be cute. Like, I'm his girl, so he's protective over me. And, it wasn't cute at all. It actually, the controlling turned physical, and the ostracizing, pulling me away from even the few people that I was close to, and to get me all to himself. And so that cute jealousy turned ugly very early, which all jealousy does eventually. That's why we say if jealousy reaps her ugly head, jealousy will murder you. And
Wow.
so, I found myself in a very, very life or death situation in 2006. So when my abuser really beat me, and that day I knew I would die. In fact, he said so. And he promised me, I'll beat you to a pulp where your own family won't recognize you.
Wow.
And if it wasn't for my 1 year old, she was a year old at the time, if it wasn't for Jaden being awakened by my screams and it startled her, and so she began to cry hysterically, then I might not be sitting in front of you today.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's crazy, crazy, crazy. Um,
it
that's a
is, but
powerful story. That's a powerful story.
thank
How
you.
you know, we know now, of course, that your purpose will be fulfilled. because you
Absolutely.
are working it out. I love, 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 love
Thank
you.
you.
So now you suffer from depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mhm.
What were some of the symptoms that you exhibited that contributed to this diagnosis?
I think to be quite honest, post-traumatic disorder was something that I dealt with as far back in my childhood. It just never manifested fully to be diagnosed. And I think that that's what we miss in kids now, because until it showed up as an adult where I was having, I mean, major panic attacks, um, nervous breakdowns, um, any little trigger would just like I wasn't like I wasn't breaking dishes and tearing the house up. It wasn't anything like that. I just mentally I felt like I was completely out of control. Any little thing would trigger me. It could be a song on the radio, it could be from a movie, it could be a text message, it could be words, and I would go from jovial, who I am naturally. I'm pretty happy most of the time, at least 98% of the time. I think I'm a pretty great person, and I would just flip, but not flip to the point that I would spaz out. I just felt like I was out of control to the point where I literally felt like if I could just go in a closet and close myself in and just not even have to face the outside world just to escape. That's how I felt. I started having severe migraines, and I've suffered from with migraines since I was about 12, but these were on a whole nother scale. The post-traumatic stress disorder put me in the hospital with anxiety. I was hospitalized for 3 days. My physical body completely went out from up under me, and I was sitting on the floor. I'll never forget this day. And I asked my daughter, I said, Jay, she was about 7. I said, Jaden, will you bring mommy the phone? And I was cognitive. I could speak, but Dr. V, I couldn't move. My arms worked, but my physical body just went limp. And I laid in the floor and I called my mom and I asked her, I said, Mom, when you had your first stroke, what did it feel like? I thought I was literally like dying. It's ugly.
Take your time.
But I'm grateful. you know, Depression is nasty. And it's not just being in the bed and wanting to hide in the closet. Depression for me, outside of post-traumatic disorder, was quite the opposite. I would I would cash my entire check spending on clothes and furniture and dressing it up and making it look pretty, and designer bags and shoes, and going into a store and spending $5,000 and $7,000 on a lunch break was nothing to me. So I wore it well. Yeah, textbook. I wore it well. And so depression for me wasn't put you in the bed. Post-traumatic stress disorder did that to me, just making me just want to recluse and not to deal with people. Like I just felt like my mind was going to explode, like 50,000 thoughts, and I completely felt out of control. And the only time I felt I was in control or had any power was when I was able to spend the money and make myself feel better, even if it was for a moment. I felt amazing. But that was just the thing. It was just for a moment because I wasn't healthy.
That's very interesting how that manifests itself, right?
Yeah.
Because the reality is that, a lot of times depression does show up where you're just laying in the bed and you don't feel
Yeah.
like you can get up and things of that nature. I
Yeah.
had a lady come in and she thought that she was having a stroke. And I remember this so specifically. She thought she was having a stroke, but she was having a panic attack and
Yeah.
she was hyperventilating. And she was like, I can't feel my hand. I can't feel my right hand. She said, I think I'm having a stroke. And I said, slow your breathing down. And as soon as she slowed her
Yes.
breathing down and she was able to take control of your breathing, because a lot of times whenever you're in that moment, right, you can't control your breathing. You
Yeah.
can't control what happens. And
Hmm.
that's such a powerful way of you describing that. My husband says she has a story that needs to be heard by a lot of people. I love it. Love it, love it.
Oh,
And he
thank
says, I
you.
hope she is writing a book. She done already wrote a book, or she done already wrote a book. She is working it out, working it out.
Oh, it's only to God be the glory, Dr. V. God spoke to me in 2010 before my ex-husband went to prison. And no, he didn't go to prison for abuse. It was something completely different. But I remember standing in Verizon Wireless, and the Lord said, write your book. No, write your story. I'm going to get it right. He said, write your story. I didn't know what he meant. So I went to the copy machine and I got a piece of paper from the copy, and I stood at the end of the counter. And before the pen hit the paper, I just began to weep. And I just started to write. And I still had that very same piece of paper, actually in a journal where I started writing. And it has taken 11 years. And my manuscript will be complete May 30th when it goes to publishing. And my book launch, I Am Broken Beautiful, will be released. That celebration will happen August the 21st. And I'm just excited to be able to tell the testimony of how God kept me. Because oftentimes we don't see it when we're in the middle of it,
Mm-mm.
right? And that's why I always say, and it is captioned, I have said this for so long, for many years, I can't even recount, but there is a beautiful life awaiting you after this. See, we got to get through this. As long as you're in this, you can't see what's after. But that's his promise, that we will have suffering in this life, right? But he's overcome. And because he's overcome, we overcome.
That's right.
I overcome with him. And that's the promise that I stand on.
I tell people a lot of times that when you're in the valley situations, it's really, really hard to trust God,
It
right?
is.
Because it's easier to trust God in those mountain situations. But it is in that valley situation that you went through that is giving you the ability to be able to write this book, right? It's giving you
Amen.
content to write this book. So
Amen.
I love that. I love my husband. He says,
Thank
we
you.
need it on audio. I will buy that book. Okay. Because we don't read books around here. We just listen to them because we just on the go all the time. And so
Noted. Noted. I'll take that down.
now you decided to change the narrative of your life. Tell us the story about when you decided to turn your life around. What did that
I
look like?
I decided to turn my life around, Dr. V, for Jaden, for my daughter. Um, it's crazy, but for me, I would fight harder for her than I ever fought for myself. And it was the courage to fight for her that gave me the courage to fight for me. Does that make sense?
Does. The why
Yeah.
a lot of times has to be on the outside of you, right?
Yeah,
The why is not always you. If the why is only you, then you won't a lot of times you won't, go forward. But
that's
because the
right.
why is on the outside of you, it's your motivation, it's your drive, right? And so
Absolutely.
Jaden is, we love Jaden. I love it even more now. I mean, now that I know all this.
Yeah, well, I just knew that I knew, even being an abused child, all I ever wanted to do was be a mom, right? All I wanted to do was be a mommy. And I didn't care whether I had a husband or not. I just wanted to be a mommy. I wanted to take care of someone and to love them, right? And I knew, even with Jay, that my past would not be her present, and nor would she have to suffer because of what I suffered. Now, I knew that going in, but having her, and even though I remained married to her father for several years after, you know, I just knew This will not be my baby's life. My daughter will not be sitting telling anyone how she suffered through this. Now, what awaits her as she continues to grow? She's 16. I know she's going to face challenges in life, but being abused by her mother would not be one.
I love it.
Being sexually molested on her mother's watch would not be one. Having to deal with those type of things, having to hear the hateful words that I heard my mom speak to me because out of her brokenness she spoke to me, would not be Jaden's portion. I knew that
I love that.
because I didn't want her to heal from me. It took me almost 28 years to begin to heal from the wounds that my mother and my father had imposed on me and others. And I didn't want her to suffer for 28 years to know at age 46 what she didn't know at 28.
Wow.
So,
I
yeah.
love it. One of the things that my husband and I talk about a lot of times, we talk about the fact that, the relationship that we have is a relationship that it is one of the best relationships in order to be able to show our children, right?
Yeah,
Because if you're whole in that relationship, then what happens is it transcends down to your children, right?
that's right.
But when you are not, then it transcends down to your children,
It
right?
does.
And
Yes, ma'am.
so that is it's just amazing. I mean, I love you even more. I mean, I loved you from the beginning, but I love you
I
even more
love you
now.
too, Dr. V.
So now you are a
Well, thank
women's
you.
empowerment coach. Now,
I
who
am.
gave you the inspiration to take this trajectory in your life?
Well, I am a women's empowerment coach. I might not look like it this morning and y'all seeing me cry. I only cry because and it's not tears of past hurt or pain. I am just so grateful that I get the opportunity to now share my story because I never thought that it would be my portion. I never thought that God would use somebody broken as I was, me, to be able to share and to be able to pour into others. And so, Dr. V, as a women's empowerment coach, my first, how did you ask me? Who inspired me? Me.
Uh-huh.
I was my first inspiration, and I had to be my first inspiration. I had to know my worth to be able to show others what they're worth. Because if you don't know who you are, you will never be able to pour and to pull from someone else who they are. Because people only trust people that they can relate to.
That's right.
See, if you've never driven a car, you can't tell me how to get in my car and drive it. And you can't tell me from a textbook. Textbooks are nice. We need them. They give us information. But until you get behind the wheel of the car, you don't know how much gas to press, how fast the car is going to go. You don't get to feel the power behind the steering wheel. You don't know what braking feels like. You don't know what it feels like if you slam on the brakes too quick. Having someone that can walk with you through this, through your transformation. I had to transform before I could talk to anyone else about transforming. And there is so much brokenness. And as a woman who held it together for many years in corporate America, in suits and heels and cars and all of these things, quite honestly, I hate it, but I love it at the same time. I can spot a broken woman 100 miles away. I don't care that you smile and you grin and you have it all together. It comes out. We hide it well, but it always shows up. It shows up in some facet of our lives. It shows up in whether we're being quick with someone when they respond to us because we're responding from a broken place, and then we try to recant it. Oh no, I didn't mean it that way. I was just joking. But it comes up. And I want everyone divinely connected to me to experience what I have experienced through the love of Jesus Christ and what his love can transform in their lives. And that's it. If I do that, I've done my work.
I love it how you are able to recognize another woman who is broken.
Yeah,
That is a power beyond, and it helps you in your coaching, right?
it
Because you
does.
understand that, and you going through that. I mean, I think that you talk about the crying, but I think that the crying is you have to cry, right?
Yeah.
I really feel like you have to cry in order to be able to heal sometimes.
Hmm.
And it is in that vulnerability because we show up. I mean, you showing up today like a boss, right? You showing
Oh,
up
thank
today
you.
like a boss, right? And the reality is that people can't relate to that, right? People can't
Hmm.
relate to you showing up like a boss when they're in that broken place,
That's
right?
right.
And so you showing up like a boss and saying, okay, I was there. I was over
Hmm.
there at one point in time, but right now I'm here. Look at what you can be at the end of
That's
the
right.
day. And
Yeah.
so I love that vulnerability. I love that you showed up like this. And again, I love you.
Oh, thank you.
So I am sure that you have learned many lessons from your abuse in childhood. What are some of the lessons that you impart to your child related to what you've learned from these experiences?
And I've been very candid with Jaden. Jaden knows my story. She's had conversations with myself and my mom, and even to and I'm glad that I'm candid with Jaden. I'm glad that I don't withhold from her what I went through, because some of it she experienced. She was old enough, being married with, when I was with her dad. She heard the language, um, so she was exposed to it. But what she knows is this, Jaden: just because you were exposed to something doesn't mean that you have to accept it.
Mm,
Just because it is happening doesn't mean that it's your portion. You don't have to live this way. And I live my life in front of Jaden as a healed, healthy woman. And I'm going to tell you why. Jaden said something to me. Well, I do it because she deserves it, first and foremost. Secondly, I think it was maybe, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Jaden and I were sitting down and we were having a conversation. And she said, Mommy, I remember when she was talking about us riding to her school. And I was taking her to school that morning, to MB Hubbard. And we were driving, and my home was in foreclosure. And Jaden and I were facing being homeless. And I remember that morning I was having to fill out a pink slip for her school. And this piece of paper stated that I was a displaced US citizen because I no longer had a physical address. And she said she was talking to me.
take your time. Take your
I,
time.
I hate this part. But she said I grabbed her, and I grabbed her so tight I didn't realize it, that my nails imprinted in her arm, and she still has those. And she said, Mommy, you remember this? And I said, No. She said, we were driving to school, and as soon as she said it, the memory came back. And I was like, oh my God, forgive me. I would have never done that had I not been in that space, because I was terrified, to be quite honest. And I gripped her so tight as to hold on to her, not to hurt her, but in holding on to her, I hurt her.
Mm.
And boy, did was that like not just having that conversation with her about 6 to 8 months ago really opened my eyes to where I was in 2013, my mental state in 2013. See, I'm not talking about something that happened 50 years ago. I'm not even 50 years old. I'm not talking about something that happened in I'm talking about with my daughter in 2013. We were homeless, and I was terrified. So what I impart to her is that it is never okay for anyone, including me, to ever mistreat her or disrespect her. Ever.
I love it.
Ever.
I love it. You are so, oh my God. I love, 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 love
I'm
you.
sorry I'm a crybaby, but I am.
You are not. You are not.
I
The
never cried. Dr. V, when I was younger and I was hurt, I was so hard to everything. My heart was hardened to people. So I never cried because then crying showed them my weakness. Crying showed you that I actually cared, and I did. I just didn't want anyone else to know it because I had built these walls. And as long as I had walls, and as long as I came across as tough and had to have that exterior that was hardened and keep my armor on, I could protect me from you, but I could also protect you from me.
That's right.
So
That's right.
I cry all the time now.
Yes. Me too. Ask my husband. You have
But
such a
I'm so
beautiful,
grateful. I
you have
am
such a
grateful.
beautiful story. So now, where can the audience find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook at Tasha Jones. It's very easy. It's spelled just like my name, Tasha Jones. I am also, pardon me, on Instagram at I Am Broken Beautiful. My website is www.iambrokenbeautiful.com, and my email address is brokenbeautifultj, just like Tasha Jones, at gmail.com.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And so, if you are out there, your story and Tasha's story resonated with you, and you are looking for a coach to help you through those hard times, because the reality is that we all need some help, right?
Yeah,
And understanding that you have went through it and how you came out of it
yeah.
is golden, right? And then, of course, this book is gonna be amazing. I cannot wait. I
Thank
cannot
you.
wait. I cannot wait.
Thank you.
We're gonna really, really amp that one up whenever it comes out. So thank you
Thank
for
you.
joining us this morning.
Thank you,
So
Dr. V.
my name is Dr. Viola Pierce. I am the CEO and the founder of VP Nursing and the Nurse Nurturer and the facilitators of Secret Suppers Worldwide with Dr. V, where our goal is to teach nurses to leverage the knowledge that they already know, working from their computers anywhere around the world, making money and owning their own time. Our goal is to come to you each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to give you the fuel to crush your goals and to show up exceptional on a daily basis. Know that one of the goals of Morning Infusion with Dr. V is to expose you to leaders like Tasha that have overcome, so that you know that the possibilities are endless. If you are watching YouTube, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and leave a comment if you were ever told that you would not succeed. And remember to click the calendar link above if you want to create another stream of income and enroll in our 6-month course, VP Nursing Business Academy. You guys have a phenomenal rest of your day.